Aloha, my name is Dr. Linda Dixon and I'm here today to share with you a story. And it's my story with microblading. I started in South Korea on July 27th, 2004. And I was in South Korea to judge a microblading competition. It was called embroidery, it was called feathering, and all of a sudden I'm in a room with 400 women hunched over 400 dummies, and they're doing this hockey stick with black ink eyebrows on their dummies. There's about a half an inch thick, it's flat, it's got a cowlick at the bottom, and I'm like, what are they doing? How come I'm judging this? I don't even know what they're doing. I came home and I was like, I don't think my clients want me to put black ink in their eyebrows in lines with a cowlick at the bottom. They're a half an inch thick and they're flat. So from 2004, flash forward to 2012, I invited Jody Stosky from Canada to come down to a boot camp and share her feathering technique with the 60 people at my boot camps. And there were other people there doing single needle, and people just like, how could she slice the skin? How could she do that? That's terrible. But I was like, Jody, I trust you, So within a few months, I started trying to do the feathering technique known as microblading. My patients were really happy. They had these hair strokes. I made a lot of mistakes, and by 2014, I wanted to share this technique. So I did. Another 60 people came, and I shared the microblading technique with them in 2014. I never dreamed that microblading, as we know it, would go viral. So I'm sorry, having introduced it to America and even Europe, microblading started in Asia, but again, black ink on eyebrows didn't look too good. What I want to talk to you today about is color, control, confidence, and basically microblading will give you a choice. So the 4 C's: color, control, confidence, and choice. Now, the technique I'm talking to you about today gives you a choice. It gives you a choice between a hand tool, it gives you a choice between a machine, but there's one needle that I designed for over a year and a half that's a cartridge needle that will let you do microblading in the machine or in the hand tool. How did this come about? Well, I've long wanted a hand tool for hygienic needle cartridges and could never get them made. So finally, BombTech listened to me, and they were very gracious when I met them in Hong Kong a year and a half ago, and we got the microblading hygienic cartridge. You can't stick yourself. You can't tilt your needle from one side to the other. Your controlled depth, 0.8 millimeters. So you can't slice the skin. You don't have to worry about the sweet spot. Depending on your stretch, you can control how deep your needle goes. And we've even got pain control, not just depth control, pain control. It's like a needle on training wheels. You can't tilt from one side to the other, so your strokes aren't going to blur as much. I will tell you what we have learned. I've learned that when you microblade with the LOV needle, we call it the LOV needle, it's 10-point curved, like a needle that's 5 months pregnant. It's nice and curved. And so when you're working to microblade, you can go either direction, from the bottom up, from the top down. It depends on the skin. You're going to want to be able to do both with your strokes to be effective. But we get such a fine hair stroke, and it's like, is it hair or is it a hair stroke? So you get this very fine hair stroke with the LOV needle, this 10-point pregnant needle. And so then I had a client who didn't want hair strokes, but I thought, well, it's not as painful for people. I opened her skin just with a microblade to put on the topical anesthetic. And I rubbed in some pigment, and I did her eyeliner, which is what she came in for. When I finished the eyeliner, I went to do the brows, and I dabbed off the brows, and the worst possible thing happened. And it's like, oh no, I've got hair strokes. And here I had just done like 8 hair strokes, sort of random, nothing totally intentional. I wanted to open the skin. I wanted to get the ultra duration on the skin, get her pain control. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I took the cartridge out of the hand tool and I put it in the Skin Master 7 machine. You can see the speed, put it at about 5. Dialed the needle out a little bit because I needed the needle out long enough to be able to brush the skin. And I held the brow really tightly. And I went from the outer 2/3, I'm brushing, right? And I'm going broop, broop, and I'm like, seeing all these little dots of color, like a stone skipping on water. Nothing solid, nothing blotchy, no stripes, no lines. And I'm going over the hair strokes, right? I'm trying to hide the hair strokes, actually. I need to get her out of my chair. I need to let her go home. And so then the inner part, I want it to be real soft, sort of like an ombre brow. And I go broop, broop, broop. And I just have this effect, which is like a veil over a bride's face. And I'm like, I get her out of the chair. I'm so grateful because she just wanted me to powder in some brows. She didn't want hair strokes. Long story short, the next client came in, she wanted hair strokes. And so I'm thinking, yay, I get to use my new needle. It only goes 0.8 millimeters. It's like on training wheels. I won't be able to tilt it from one side to the other. My problem with microblading after several years was that the hair strokes were gray and they were blurring together. And I'm like, did I put the strokes too close together? Did I tilt my needle? Did I use the wrong pigment? Did I go too deep? Because if you throw something in the shallow end of the pool, you can see it. You've thrown a red ball in the shallow end of the pool. But if you throw it in the deep end of the pool, it's really hard to see. It looks really dark. And so I'm like, did I get bleeding? Yeah, I got bleeding. Did I slice the skin? I sliced the skin. And I'm like, I've got to make a needle that's safe and that goes to the right depth, that doesn't slice the skin, where I don't get a lot of bleeding, where I stay superficial so I can see the color. And so the LOV technique evolved. Beautiful. Hey, I didn't know if it would work. My clients were sending me selfies every week after their procedures. And all of a sudden I was walking on water. I wasn't just skipping stones on water, I was walking on water. I had color control. Things aren't turning gray. And I had depth control. I had needle control. I had more confidence, right? My patients were so happy. Tip. Make sure you have your clients send you a selfie at week 1 and week 2 at least after you start your LOV technique and microblading, because you're going to say, I don't know if the color's going to stay in there. But not only does it stay in there, it's more true. I haven't seen the gray, and I haven't seen. I'd also learned over the last, 4.5 years, all hair strokes, even microblading, blur. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't know if it was my fault. Maybe I went too deep. Maybe I tilted my needle to the side so I got a splinter or a shadow effect. So I knew that I wanted a needle that would go both in a machine, so you could do microblading in a machine. For those of you who've been doing permanent makeup so long, you said, I don't want to use a hand tool. I don't know how to use a hand tool. So it fits in the cartridge of the Skin Master 7 machine. And for those of you who love hand tools, it fits in the LOV handle. We call it the LOV handle. We call it the LOV needle. What's not to love? You have this 3-way love triangle between a machine, a needle, and a hand tool. And the clients are happy. They're smiling. I am getting truer color, better colors, more coming back the way they left. It's absolutely amazing. And I want to share a little bit of this with you today.